Hey guys, in this video we'll be continuing with the Python video tutorials. We'll be continuing the part of the series discussing lists in Python. So lists in Python are mutable, which means their elements can be changed. Pretty much we can have an example here. We will create a list. We'll print the list. We'll change one of the indexes to a different number, and then we'll reprint the list again. So it's pretty common programming stuff. So we'll just have one list here. So we can have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we can just print val list. Then we can say we want val list of list index 0. We want to point that to another number, like some massive number. Then we can now reprint the list, val list, and we can print that out. Sorry, we can say, save that and run it. So we printed our val list, and then we selected one of the list indexes. In this case, we picked index 0. We pointed it to another value. Then we printed val list. So of course we could have then called val list again, array index 0, pointed it to like the string, maybe like fruits or something. Fruit string, whatever. Printed it out. Run the code. Oh, sorry, we didn't print it out again, so we can print val list again. So then we have fruit string and the rest of the numbers. So moving on, we have so if we have, when you use an indexing expression, pretty much that's what this is, to assign a value to a list element, you must use a valid index for an existing element, or a list error exception will occur. For example, if we choose an index that doesn't exist, such as index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be right. So if we print out val list of list index 8, we should get an exception. So you got an index error again because the list index is out of range. There's no index 8 here. So it's index 0 to 7. So if we call index 7 this time, then we should get the value 8, which we did. So moving on. The numbers list that is created in the first statement, the val list, has basically, we don't have that index. That's why the exception was thrown. So we can use an indexing expression to fill a list with values. So kind of what we started with in sequences in the first part of this section. So we have like vals points to 0 times 5. And we say index points, or sorry, we say I points to 0. So if we say while I is less than the len function, passing in vals. So while I is less than the length of vals, basically. Then we can say numbers of list index of I points to some large number. Whoops. And after all that, we can have I points to I plus 1. And we can save and run that. Oops, sorry, not numbers. Meant to write vals. Save and run that. Do we not print anything? I don't believe we printed anything. So we can actually, after the loop, we can print out vals. So we just print, we'll call the print function pass in vals as a parameter. Print that. Sorry, we can run that. And there you go. So let's print vals first here. Let's print it out initially. So initially we have, we're using an indexing expression to basically expand this list out. To fill the list, they call it. We're filling the list with values. In this case, all zeros. Because if we just take if we take list index 0 times 5, then we're just saying, well, we want something like this. So vals really points to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. If I said 0 5 times, hopefully, so it just takes it, multiplies it by 5. Nothing's really being multiplied, it's just expanding it out. It's filling the values with zeros 5 times. Basically, it's a sequence, so if we change this to 0, 1, 2, 3, then it'll be all 1, 2, 3. If we go like 0, 1, 2 times 5, then that sequence will be printed out next to each other 5 times in the list. So we already went over that earlier on. So it's a sequence. It's basically an indexing sequence. So that's pretty much it. And then, of course, it's setting I to point to 0. It's saying while I is less than the length of vals. In this case, well, the length is 5, so it's saying while I is less than 5. That's all that it's saying. So once it's 5, stop the loop, of course. So in this case, index 0 will be the first iteration, so it's going to say, well, vals of array index 0 points to like this number, 10 million or 100 million or something. Then it's going to set index I, so I points to I plus 1, so I is now going to point to 1. It's going to loop back up to the top. It's going to say, now it's going to test while I, which is in this case 1 is less than 5. it'll step in because that's true. We've gone over this in loops in the previous videos. It's going to say, okay, well, vowels of array index 1 now points to this number. It's going to continue to set the indexes and increment them until I is 5. When I is 5, it stops, because in that case, of course, we'll get an index. We'll get an index out of bounds exception, or an index error. And there you go. So that's pretty much it. Might just have another example here. Yeah, so let's continue with a longer example. So let's do a list example, a longer one. So let's delete all that. So let's have a constant at the top. Num days points to 7. And we'll have def, so we'll call def main to start our main function. So we'll say the sales val points to index, so array index 0 times num days. Of course it's 7. So it's going to expand that list out. So we'll create a variable to hold the index. So here we'll have I points to 0 initially. So pretty much we'll get the sales for each day, so we'll have so let's see what we'll have here. So we'll have a while I is less than num days, or 7. And we will have, well, in that case we'll print day number, comma, I plus 1. Here we'll pass in I plus 1, comma, oh, that's pretty much it actually. So then on the next line we'll have sales val points to, sorry, sales val. So now it's a list, of course. So sales val of array index, of list index I points to a float. So casted float to the input function. So I believe we're going to enter the sales for that day. I think we could just have enter the sales. I think this is correct. In my notes, I'm just trying to figure out what I have down here. So enter the sales. So just say like daily sales. And we can take I and increment it like that. Whatever works. I plus equals 1. I points to I plus 1, or I plus, yeah, I plus equals to 1, or I points to I plus 1, whatever you want to do. And then after that, we can just print the list. Okay, so we can actually loop through it. We can loop through it, or you can just print it out like that. So again, we can just get out of the while loop. I believe we can get out of the while loop, and we can say for I in sales val for I in sales val we can print I. Don't think it likes the four. It doesn't like those parentheses, I think. Python doesn't really like parentheses, so I think you have to put, which is silly, but I think you have to put this whole thing like that. No? No. What's the way to do it? Should be a way to do this. That's alright, so we'll just leave it without parentheses. It's kind of hard to use parentheses in loops in Python and other conditionals. It works with while. I thought it did work with for as well. So if we just run that. Oh, whoops, sorry, I didn't call the main function. I think that's all. So we'll just write the main function call, we'll run it. Okay, what happened here? Take the float out. Oh, you know what? I think I messed this part up. So we have sales val of array index, sorry, of list index I points to did I forget the input function? Okay, so we'll have the float cast it to the input function. Enter the daily sales, new line. So that actually, I might have forgotten that. So let's go with that. Enter the daily sales. Let's say we did 100,000, 10,000. It's going up magically. Just a massive number. Alright, so we were able to print out the list. So as you can see, we loop through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, all the way to day 7. So don't think I need to step through this. Basically, so let's just start from the beginning. We have a constant, a global constant. In our main function, we have some local variables. So sales val is a list, a local list in this case. We use a list of index 0 times num days to expand the list. Which pretty much prints, again prints it out. Our list looks like this in this case. So then it sets I to point to 0. Then it says while I is less than num days, so while I is less than 7, print out day number. The current value of I, which in this case is 0 plus 1, so it's going to print out day 1 to start. It adds a 1 because it starts at 0. So then we will then basically we say sales val of array index 1. Sorry, sales val of array index 0 points to, so it's when we call sales val of array index 0. You can see the cursor, I'm highlighting index 0 here in the comment. It's going to point that to the first daily sales value that we enter. Then I increments by 1. Then we start on, we move up, we loop back up here. Check the loop condition, we check if I is less than 7, in this case 1 is less than 7. And it continues that, keeps iterating, keeps adding 1 to I until I is 7, so 7 then is not less than 7. Then after that the loop gets skipped, and then it prints out I in a for loop. So if we just call for I in sales val, each iteration prints out each index. So we'll probably end it there. Thanks for watching. If you guys liked the video, you can like the video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like for more programming and investing tutorials. Thanks for watching. In the next video we'll be moving on to concatenating lists. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.